Welcome to Corporate Services Committee meeting of the 15th of July 2022. Now, firstly, I'd like to ask Director if there's any applications for attending meeting via video link.
Nil, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Secondly, have we got apologies for the meeting today?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Councillor Burns and Councillor Abbott.
Thank you. I think I need to move that motion and second. Thank you, Councillor Flaherty. Thirdly, have we got disclosures of interest?
Nil received, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right, I presume we have no public participation today. Looking out, and I suppose I'll hand over now to Mr. Phelps with the committee reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what we'll look at first is effectively our first report, which is in regards to the financial summary and investment report. So if I draw you to page 2, which gives us a financial summary, which is the interim 21-22 full year result coming through. Now, it's a very interim result because we have a lot of movement still happening with debtors and creditors throughout the system. So at the moment, we're sitting at a negative variance to budget of 6.6 million compared to a 1.45 positive variance in May. Now, the 3 reasons behind that, which is the recognition of the end of year grant revenue on a number of our major infrastructure projects. So they will be brought to account once all the costs are in. So then we bring in the revenue side of things. Operating expenditure is not fully spent yet. So obviously with the accounts payable still to be processed coming into July. So that will change. And also the capital works expenditure isn't fully spent at the moment either because of the same reason with the accounts payable. So this interim results really is based on a month-end cutoff that's very short for the end of the financial year. And it's a very draft result at this point in time. So we'll continue to do the write-backs in these revenue items and expenditure items to give us a true indication probably for the next meeting. So we'll just run through quickly with the impact or the high level impacts, which you'll see throughout the summary. A lot of waiting for recognition of grant funding. Our revenue streams is behind by about $8.3 million. The main factors for that items are effectively children's services, which we've raised previously. It's down by about 340,000. Government Place, which we've raised previously with regards to the occupancy of the facility, down by about 95,000. However, we've just recently gained full occupancy with that facility. So hopefully moving forward, that facility should be turning around slightly. The real estate revenues is down by about 220. We have some grant funding to be recognised for the roof at Campbell's Corner, so that'll come through in regards to the real estate. General purpose revenue is down by 1.5 million, which is.
Can I just ask a question there? Sorry, Christian. I think I've asked you for this before, but in terms of real estate revenues, I asked for a complete list of properties held by council, leased, rented, so forth.
Yeah, that's been done. It's just been completed now, okay. And I can give you that. I'm just checking it over, but it has been done, and I can give that to you.
Okay, great, and that'll be kept up to date from now on. That we will have it at the ready.
Yeah, well, it is up to date. I mean, we review it every year. It's done, and it is a statutory register, which will be put on. Yeah,
because it's taken me a few months to be able to get it. I asked for it a few months ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Should always be ready to go. That one.
Sorry?
It should always be ready to go, that one, what we own. Yeah.
Thank you. We've got it. Yeah.
Sorry. Yep, not a problem. So general purpose revenue is down by about 1.5 million, just an adjustment with our financial assistance grants. So it's effectively showing our grants in advance. So what happens with our financial assistance grants, we received some grants in advance in April, and we make the adjustment at the end of the year for those funds coming through. So it's just an adjustment coming through into our RA coming into the mix. The plants, parks and gardens, recognition of our grant funding again coming through, which is $500,000. Airport operational revenues are down by about 150,000. So we've had lower than expected landing fees. Plus also included in that was hangar lease fees, which the hangars haven't been developed as yet. So we haven't been able to generate that revenue, about $30,000. Airport grant funding actually is higher than budget. So with the project now nearing completion, we've actually, with our monthly funding milestones coming through, we're slightly ahead of budget with our grant funding there. The Warbirds over Scone, as raised in the previous month's meeting, it was down by about $400,000 in revenue streams. The aviation centre at this point in time is down by about 400,000 as well, with the traffic coming through slightly behind.
Sorry, just asking. So when's that date from for the Warbirds Aviation? Is that from when it opened in what?
Yep, commenced on when the Warbirds took event, which was the
date?
end of March, which I think is about the 28th of May.
So basically
March.
since April.
Yeah.
Okay.
The original anticipated opening date was September. So the pro rata income on the centre is down, but also the costs are down as well.
Moving further down through the system here, airport events, the Aerodrome events and promotional activities. We were anticipating to have a number of events out there over the course of since September. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to undertake any of those events at this point in time, other than the Warbirds event, obviously. But there's a cost saving on the other side of that $170,000. Footpath revenue is also lower than budget by about $188,000. Again, grant funding recognition. Regional roads, similar effect of $1.4 million. It's effectively recognition of the grant funding for capital works. And the local roads revenue is down by about $780,000. It has a little bit of the financial assistance grants adjustment coming through that goes back through to the RA.
Just on the Aerodrome events and promotional activities, lower tan budget. Sorry, was that lower than revenue budget?
Correct.
Right.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Just Mr. Phelps, just on the regional roads revenue and some of these others that are in recognition of grant funding, when do we expect to see the funding come in normally?
With a lot of the grant funding from a cash perspective is when we actually reach milestones coming through. So obviously we've got a lot of expenditure happening at the moment coming through in work in progress. And once we hit a milestone, we'll put a claim in for the actual funding. We just recognise at the end of the year that expenditure that we've actually physically spent to the actual capital works projects. So we're actually recognising it upfront at the end of June for works in progress, and then we'll make a milestone payment or a milestone claim once we reach those milestones.
Yeah, okay. So there's going to be a lag of, will it be a significant lag, or is this just end of financial year type?
End of financial year lag. So it's an end of financial year lag. Normally, we will have a lot of our monthly restart for New South Wales grant claims happening in the first 2 weeks of the new month after the end of the financial year. So a lot of those have been actually submitted in the first 2 weeks of July. So that funding normally comes through by the end of July. But there is some with federal funding that actually sits on milestone payments, where you will receive a percentage of that grant funding. So those ones will depend on where the actual project is situated from a construction point of view.
Sorry.
Yep.
So difference between the state funding and the federal funding for for somebody
Mhm.
not au fait with it, the regularity of those payments and the lag, and I assume we're drawing down on capital reserves, or are we drawing down on debt? How does that work?
Effectively drawing down on capital reserves, so council's reserves. We use those funds and then we get recouped with the grant funding after that we receive. We put through the actual claim, I beg your pardon, on the next month. For the milestones for the federal governments, we do receive some grant funding in advance. So if we sign a deed, we'll receive some cash upfront to help fund the works program coming forward. So that each grant body actually has a different perspective in regards to the claims and of the actual progress claims coming through for each funding body.
Wouldn't it just be amazing if local governments were given the money to operate that they needed, instead of having to apply for each little tiny piece? And it seems to be particularly regional councils, not urban councils. Why haven't regional councils just banded together?
That's
I think it's a really interesting point. If we could just get a bucket and sort it out ourselves, but anyway,
No, it's just basic funding, just really basic funding, and having to rely, as we are now, going, oh, well, we assume those grants will come through like they do every year. And being a little bit cynical, I kind of wonder, is it just the opportunity for state and federal politicians to have ribbon cuttings for every tiny thing they pay for?
But Wayne, we will be raising year-end debtors for a lot of these, won't we?
That's recognition of the debtors by the end of the year.
Yeah, sort of like Wayne's pointed out quite articulately, we've still got a lot of year-end process to go through, and this point in July is very early, so that's why this is just an interim result, and as we process things in the next month or so, we'll have a more accurate picture.
Okay.
What is the lag time generally for us getting money in and us getting money out? What's the general time frame for that? Do you have any KPIs on that?
No, pretty well. In regards to monthly progress claims for grant funding, we generally submit the claim in the first couple of weeks, and they generally paid by end of month. With our creditors, we normally receive the creditors in, process in the first couple of weeks, and then pay by the end of the month as well.
So really it's within a month. We're not talking about a 3-month lag or anything like that. So it's
nothing like that. Yeah. See, and at the end of the year, it's all like it's a snapshot in time. And that's why it's so much grant funding that actually has to be recognised. Right. So we'll continue down through the mix. So in regards to our general purpose revenues in our non-operating revenue and expenditure there, bit behind by about 460,000. So included in there, we've got that 425, which is our efficiency gain included in our 21-22 budget. And we're assessing the savings and everything at this point in time. So to apply against that, the 425. Operating expenditure, it's behind spend at the moment by about $1 million. Again, just because of the accounts payable come the end of the year. At the moment, associated corporate services areas are lower than budget by about $470,000. So we've had some savings through the majority of our entities in the corporate services area. Children's services costs are lower by 225. So our revenue streams are down in our children's services area, but also our costs are as well. Government place is the opposite way. We've got our costs have been higher there. So that's one that we've actually raised in a number of months in regards to the higher costs that we've had to sustain out of that facility due to compliance and staffing issues. Our waste services lower by about 140,000. Primarily it relates to the state waste levy that comes through. They've got really a 6-week lag in regards to recognising their costs. So we're bringing those to account at the year end. Public library operations are lower than budget by about 95,000, with a bit of savings there in staff vacancies and also a limited spend on our local priority projects.
What's sorry, local priority projects?
Local priority projects are pretty well, we advise the state government, state libraries of how we're going to promote the libraries. So it could be through technology upgrades, website designs, providing different forms of reading material, all those sort of things.
So why aren't we doing that? Why have we made a saving there?
We'll have some costs coming through in regards to end of year coming into the mix, but it's also to get we can actually put some money aside. So with the new library going in the next couple of years, we'll be able to bring that forward and actually use it when we come into the facility over there. So it will be spent in regards to those actual items from the state library. The sporting grounds revenue and venues operating costs are higher by about 120. We've had increased levels of service required over the grounds in the last 3 months, obviously with a lot of the winter sports and so forth. And also when we had a lot of rain at those facilities, we've had to look after those so that they wouldn't get turfed up. So we've had a bit of extra costs there. Our Aerodrome operational costs are up by about 115,000, just higher than expected staffing costs at the moment. So we're actually reviewing those costs of operation and just seeing why those have jumped up.
Everyone's looking at me ready for me to ask a question, so I will. The staffing levels, how many staff do we have out there? Do we have too many staff? What's going
on? We have an airport manager who's the coordinator, but technically an airport manager. We have an ARO, airport reporting officer, but we also.
Sorry, what's an ARO?
Airport reporting officer.
But what does that mean?
Oh, it is a trained person who's at the airport who sort of is able to monitor, safe landings and radioing for.
Is that what the airport manager does?
No, you have to have. Well, they both do that, but you need an ARO as well. So that's a statutory position.
So prior to the airport being done up, did we have those two positions?
We always have had an ARO, but the airport manager role was done by the previous business services coordinator as part of her role. But now that it's a certified airport, there's more requirements. There's more compliance. And it wasn't really working before in terms of the resourcing. So yeah, probably 2 staff. In terms of the hour of coverage, we're looking at that. We're looking at the rostering at the moment to see what the right mix is. But we're still looking at that.
Okay, sorry. And who are the others? I interrupted. Sorry. Who are the others? You were continuing, and I cut you off to ask about the ARO.
There's 2 positions. Yeah, but there is, because you have to have somebody there. Somebody has to be on call locally, 24/7 essentially. So when somebody goes on holidays, we do get a contract ARO in from Newcastle to help out.
And so with the staffing, is it only those 2 positions there? Are there other staff manning the museum or anything?
No,
like
the airport operations is distinct from the Hunter Warbirds. Yeah. This is just the operational aspect of the airport.
Are there staff costs with that being incurred? The aviation museum?
Sorry?
Are there staff costs over budget for the aviation museum?
Yeah, that's in the Hunter Warbirds, but you'll see the costs are lower than budget because this is the other side of the fact that we anticipated an opening date of September. That's why you'll see the next line, well, the line above that, there's a saving of $203,000.
And what is it in real terms? Like if you just looked at it on a pro rata, are we behind or ahead just, March, on a monthly kind of basis?
The costs are probably what we expect, but the turnover isn't not what we expected. Yeah.
What are the costs?
Sorry.
Like, what are the monthly costs for staffing there?
I'll take that on notice. I'm not sure exactly every month. Yeah.
Mine's still. Oh, did you cut me off? Yeah. So how many staff do we have at the museum?
We have a mix of permanents and casuals at the moment. We have a manager of the facility who's permanent, and we have one other permanent and 2 casuals.
And how many people are going through there a day at the moment?
Oh, we're hitting around the 150 a week.
Okay, it's well below.
Yeah, we need to get it up to about 400.
I think it was 1,000 initially was the projection, wasn't it?
Well, that's a rumor going around, but that was never the case.
It wasn't a rumor. I was at the meetings where you guys were quoting 1,000 visitors a week. You broke it down to 200 people coming on a bus each weekday.
Yeah, I don't recall those meetings.
Oh, I do. I can dig them up.
Yeah. No, it was 50,000 is very optimistic. Our modelling, we're looking at 16,000, so about 400 a week.
I think that when we were at that meeting the other day, that also includes the air show day, didn't it? Yeah, sort of distorts that number a little bit too.
Okay. So you right? Okay. No, worry. Okay. So working down through that, as we've just gone through, 100 warbirds is lower by about 200. The warbird, the aerodrome events and promotion, it's lower by the 122. So that's the offset against the 170. So as we have no events, we're a little bit lower there.
Just on the events, I'm sorry, Mr. Phelps, I'm sorry to interrupt. We've been really excited about all the new furniture and the like coming into the facility there, and we're going to have to make sure that we stay on promoting that area, because I think there's a great opportunity outside of the museum. I think there's a great opportunity in the cafe area, in the conference area there. So I know that the mayor's been pretty strongly opinionated on getting that moving forward. So I think that's really positive, and I hope to see that we're going to get significant increase in revenue through that stream, as well as the museum itself.
I agree. And considering the costs that we're losing, like everything should be thrown at making this a profit. And I mean, there's a sign apparently still outside Aberdeen saying that it's opening soon, not is open, and promoting it. Apparently it's outside of Aberdeen coming in. There's a warbird sign somewhere there saying that it's opening soon, not opened.
I think we should probably check that. I think, are you speaking of the big sign in Day's paddock, just between the bridge and Darbrook?
It sounds like it was around there. I haven't actually seen it. I haven't taken any notice, but so it works. But no, someone who was coming into town said it to me. They asked when it was opening, and I said, "Well, it is." And they said there was a sign that said it was opening soon.
We'll take that on notice, and we'll go through and actually go and review them.
Yeah.
That's part of the actual overall signage promotional around town. There's a lot of facilities that
and still not have signs up to say it's open. You know, like it's a basic administrative thing to get feet through the door. You know.
Overall, yes. No, we take that on notice, and actually we'll go through that process and make sure that all the promotional signage is out there probably over the next couple of months. Okay.
Yeah, you're right, Councillor. There is a whole bunch of opportunities that we need to leverage.